Yo, yo, yo. I'm Newt Gingrich and you're watching IronmanHacks. Wait a second. That sounded so wrong. Let me pass this one over to Sam.
Yo, 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 I'm Sam Long, and you're watching Ironman Hacks.
No, but seriously, you thought the contract with America was all about politics. It's actually about triathlon.
Hey everybody, how's it going? Andrew here from IronmanHacks, and I'm with Coach Chris Bagg from Campfire Endurance Coaching. Is that right, Chris?
That is correct. That is who I am.
Okay, cool. And Chris, I've seen some of your writing. You've got some really brilliant stuff out there. And the one that caught my eye first is about antelope and mice. Where did
Yeah.
this idea about antelope and mice come from?
Well, I mean, I ripped it off from Tim Ferriss, and I attributed him right off the bat, because that's what you do.
And
But
who
yeah,
did
go
he
ahead.
rip it off from?
Oh, I don't know.
Oh, okay. Newt Gingrich.
Follow my triathlon advice.
Oh my God. Not okay. Not quite the source material I was hoping for, but that's
Yeah,
fine.
exactly. It's like when Newt Gingrich gave you triathlon advice and it was the most brilliant thing you ever heard. You know something's
That's
wrong.
great. I love it. I mean, that is awesome. I mean, no idea is a new idea, right? And like, this is hilarious. Like, I should retitle it something like The Contract with American Triathlon.
So yeah, so don't feel bad about stealing it from somebody else. You're
Oh yeah.
recycling a great idea. So what's this
Right.
idea anyway?
Okay. So, I mean, the reason why I did this is because one of the things that I see in triathlon, and especially with the coaches that I work with, is that way too many amateurs, because the pros usually don't have this problem, but too many amateurs see what professionals are doing and they do that part first. So they go to the things that pros are doing. And very often, the reason why pros are having to do what they're doing is because they have exhausted all other avenues of development because they're professionals. This is what they do for their life. And they're able to train 25 to 40 hours a week. And a lot of amateurs don't see that part. And so they're like, oh, I need to get the recovery trousers. I need to get the ketones. I need to get this and that. And the thing is they do all of that before they pretty much exhaust their aerobic genetic potential, which most amateurs are never going to. But just by training more at a lower intensity, you will avoid injury and you'll get a lot closer to your aerobic genetic potential. And if you can move from 60% of your potential to 80% of your potential, that is a much bigger gain than going from 99% of your potential to 99 and a half. And the problem is that most of these amateurs, they're not at 99% of their genetic potential. They're at 60. And so they spend lots of time and money to go from 60 to 60.5%. And I'm like, you know what? Like, save yourself some money and just go for another bike ride. And so that's where the idea came from, is basically like looking at all of the ways that amateur triathletes kind of shoot themselves in the foot by focusing on the wrong thing and spending too much money.
Okay. So it's not that you are against marginal gains, but you're against misprioritizing them. So
Exactly.
you don't even know how to, properly handle a bike and you want to get by a TT bike or something
Right.
like that.
Oh God. Yeah, that would be a particularly dangerous application of marginal gains.
I had an athlete actually write to me who wanted advice on something, and he had done one sprint triathlon on a mountain bike. But he was wise enough to say he doesn't want to get a new bike. He just wants to improve his swim and improve his bike and still go
Love
with
that
the
guy.
bike. So
Yeah, love that. Like, yeah, I always tell people, like, you don't buy a tri bike until your second or third year in the sport. You have to know that you love this before you gravitate away from whatever bike was the first bike that you had.
so Chris, going into this deeper, I mean, a lot of us like technology, we like gadgets, we like things like that. So give me like your take on, like, what would tech companies see this as the opportunity here? How do they prey on the triathletes currently?
Oh, okay.
Because
Yeah.
we
I
spend a
mean,
lot on this, right? Or
right.
should we
And
be?
a lot of the time, the intention is good. Like, it's pretty rare in this particular space for an inventor or an innovator to set out thinking that he is going to defraud millions. Usually it's a pretty innovative person who is like, you know what? There is no good solution for tracking core body temperature because there isn't. Like most of the devices are not great at it until you start getting pretty invasive, and nobody has yet figured out a rectal thermometer that you can use while cycling or
Maybe
running
it could be
or
integrated with the saddle somehow.
oh my god, that's amazing. That's a great idea. You'd need specific bibs as well. Those would have to come with the thermometer and the saddle. But very often it's an innovator who is like, there's a problem. And then what they do is they fix the problem through prototyping a product. And prototyping is incredibly time consuming and expensive. I don't know if you ever know about the Dyson company. And he went through something like almost 10,000 prototypes of the vacuum system for the vacuum before he got one that worked. That's a lot of iterations, and that costs a fantastic amount of money. So our innovator like comes up with something, prototypes it, and he or she is usually invested 3 or 4 years and lots of money in order to come up with a workable prototype. Okay, so sweet. You've got a workable prototype. Now you have to market it. The thing you do is you find high visible people, which are professionals, and you're like, hey, I've got something that solves a problem. And those professionals are looking for that problem to be solved because they are at their genetic potential. So they're looking for any tiny little marginal gain they can get. So, innovator finds a place to get his product marketed effectively and then begins selling it to amateurs who do not need his product but think his product is really cool. And so the innovator makes their money back and the professional gets that like 1/4%, and the amateur doesn't really get anything. They get something they don't need. And it can feel good, and toys are fun. But the whole point of what I do as a coach is I am trying to find the most economical way to improve athletes. And that's economy in terms of time, effort, and money. And so a lot of the times these gadgets are not things that are actually going to help you very much. And you would be better off spending your money elsewhere. The big one for me is always like, rather than getting a new bike, get a bike fit. Like a $400 bike fit will ensure that you can actually ride in your aerodynamic position. And then you'll actually derive a benefit from, that bicycle that maybe has some cheap clip-ons slapped on it, rather than these days, the $8,000 completely integrated spaceship that, you probably don't need.
Excellent. Yeah. So in your PDF, you have this really cool chart here where it shows yield axis of time
Yes.
across
Yeah, I
the
had fun with that one.
x-axis of time, right? So
Yeah.
across, I'll put it up on the screen right now. So you got the time going this way, and essentially across the time, you've got the antelope. They're ignoring the antelope. There are a million antelope right in front of them, right
Yeah.
there. And then there's a
Yeah.
mouse way down there in the field, which they're zoomed in on.
Yeah.
Whereas the professionals, they have no problem. They've already killed off all those antelope. So they're all the way maximized at 99% of their potential because they're training all day, all night. Whereas your age grouper, he's skipping workouts, he's not doing his long runs, he's not doing his long swims, he's not doing anything, but he's spending money, right? So he's getting those psychological gains, but he's not actually optimizing. So
Yeah.
that chart really kind of visualized it for me.
Yeah. And those psychological gains, if you have not done the physiological work, Um, confidence without preparation is arrogance.
Right.
That's not actually confidence. And what it does is it leads to disaster, and it leads to injury, and it leads to a whole bunch of like outcomes that we don't want. And yeah, so like the whole point of this whole wild, way too extended metaphor is, to stop ignoring the antelope that are in your backyard.
Excellent. And Chris, in your article, you mentioned the biggest antelope, which,
Mhm.
yeah, what is that one?
Consistency.
Right.
Like consistent, moderate intensity aerobic conditioning.
Right.
Volume, basically. Volume is the driver of aerobic adaptation. And what we're doing in any sport that is longer than 3 minutes is aerobic. We're trying to build that aerobic engine. And so the biggest antelope that you should be hunting is making sure that you can progressively build in a consistent way that doesn't injure you your volume in all three sports. So over the course of a season and over the course of several seasons, your volume should grow over time, just like the stock market, but not an overheated stock market, a nice, consistent, like slow growth stock market, because fitness compounds just like interest compounds. Because if you do more work this month, you can do more work the month after that. And then the same thing happens and it compounds over time. That's why pros get really, really fast. They just do the simple work forever. And like, Gustav and Kirsten, they started when they were 10 and they have been consistent for over 25 years at this point, which is why they're so darn fast.
Excellent. So we won't go over all of them, but you've got a whole series of these in here of, do this, not that guide, right? So antelope versus mice. So what I'd suggest is anybody who's interested in this, click on the link in the description below, and you can download this yourself. And then in here, he's got a whole list of things that you should be doing over other things. Of course, I've kind of done all of them. I've bought all these things. Let me just admit to it.
Great.
But
Good.
but I know I've also done a proper bike fit too, and so forth. So it's not that you can't have a good bike and you can't have a good wetsuit, but know what you're doing and know your priorities, and don't expect there to be some magic shortcut that's going to get you to the, that's going to have you beating Gustav when he's been training since he was 10 and you've been training since you were 41.
Yeah. Right, exactly. And there are ways that you can safely squeeze a little bit more volume into your existence, like a training camp or something like that. But I think I point out in the article, you're always going to be better served by spending money on education and experience, like your own experience, than you are on spending it on a thing. And probably the way to motivate yourself is like get some fun experiences in education. And then when you begin to plateau, that's a chance to be like, okay, maybe I need a treat, a toy, a thing. And then, because like motivation really, really does work well with intermittent reward. And so like set yourself some goals, get some experiences and some education. And then when you start achieving one or two of those goals, that's when it's time to give yourself a reward.
So again, please click on the link down there. Go download this PDF from Chris. See it for yourself. He's got a lot of other great stuff out there. And Chris, maybe quick background about Campfire.
Sure. Yeah. So Campfire used to have my name in it, and we changed that, which was a good call. But I've been coaching in one form or another since 2009. I quit my teaching job in 2011. To race and train full time. I retired from the sport in 2021, and now I still compete in gravel cycling and cross country skiing. I still swim 4 or 5 times a week because don't ever stop swimming, everybody. It goes away. It's very hard to get back. But yeah, Campfire has a total of 6 coaches. There's me and 5 others. And our whole thing is we make faster, happier, and healthier athletes.
Tremendous. Thanks a lot, everybody. And if you like this, if you got any value out of Chris's wisdom, then please like, subscribe, and give Chris a comment down below.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Andrew.
Thanks.